Good morning. Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. There we go. And that you're all having a great day. Just rolled out of bed and it might be a bit of a slow start, but you'll be okay. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm not sure why a lot of the news today was what I like to call water is wet news. For those of you who don't get it, water is wet. And a lot of the news is kind of like explaining things that one should already know, but alas. Michael Saylor is once again in the news. I think it's just kind of part of the cycle at this point. Him and a bunch of other people tend to disappear, not into the shadows, but they're just not as prominent when prices are going down. But when prices are going up, or when there's an expectation of prices continuing to go up, he usually pops back up and talks about buying Bitcoin and all this other stuff. But recently, he's been on a number of panels in the last couple of weeks discussing things within the cryptocurrency space, talking about Bitcoin and literally talking about how amazing it is. And now he's back in the news to talk about that. But for some reason, this ended up being popular news, and it was more like oh yeah, we should have already known that. MicroStrategy's former chief executive and executive chairman, his name is Michael Saylor, took to social media on Twitter to highlight the performance of Bitcoin since the 10th of August, 2020. Very weird time frame? Sure, why not? And he compared it with the return on investment of other investment options. In a Twitter post, Saylor highlighted that Bitcoin is winning, while noting that the digital asset has gone up by 432% since the 10th of August. Once again, very weird time frame. At the same time, the S&P 500 has given an return of 56%, while the NASDAQ is up by only 50%. Meanwhile, gold has only risen by 7% since the time mentioned, while silver and bonds, silver and bonds have actually gone down by 13%, and bonds went down by 19%. That's actually kind of sad, actually, when you think about that. Also, for those of you who just missed the news, which wasn't even popular news, which made it even more sad. You know how everyone's always talking about like Bitcoin is digital gold and Bitcoin's going to pass by the valuation of gold? Bitcoin actually passed by the valuation of silver, like completely. Like it is above silver in terms of market cap and valuation. So I would like to believe that was part of the reason why silver has been going down. But it just happened. So, yeah. Last week, Saylor stated that volatility is vitality. Okay. Emphasizing that Bitcoin's dynamic price movements are part of the digital assets market fundamentals. Notably, Saylor has been a huge Bitcoin bull. It says since 2020. I think it's been way before that. Recently stating that Bitcoin represents the digital transformation of capital, the former MicroStrategy chief executive explained that Bitcoin's price is driven by its major use of capital preservation and appreciation, end quote. Very popular news. And I say that it is kind of obvious because if you've been into crypto for more than a year, if you've been watching me for more than 6 months, you've definitely heard this before. It is a quite popular metric when referring to other assets comparative to many things within the cryptocurrency space, but if you can even just whittle it down to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the best performing asset that has ever existed on the planet. Like, period. Like, there's nothing that has ever done better than it. We had some numbers years ago. Here's a couple of charts. Here's the most important thing right there. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says since 2011, the cumulative growth of Bitcoin has exceeded 20 million%, far surpassing the cumulative growth of 541% of the NASDAQ 100 index and 282% for major U.S. stock indices or indexes as well. Yeah, so we've known for a while, like it's like an old thing that no one really talks about anymore, but I think it's quite important. So many things that we've had within the cryptocurrency space, people just kind of pretend that they're not there or that they didn't happen. So we have known for a while, like even I think years ago, like the number was something along the lines of like I think 6 or 7 million%. And that drove the market completely insane. But it kind of falls into the background when everyone just cares about other little weird things that are happening within the space all the time. So yeah, Bitcoin has totally done well since what was it? The 10th of August 20. That's a very specific date. And I wonder why exactly he gave that date. I have no idea. He was also talking about how like we have been in a continual bull run. He doesn't think that any of the movements back down have been bear markets. He thinks that we are simply in this like ripping and roaring constant bull run that is going to kind of go on forever, at least according to him. But not only has it outperformed them in the last 3.5, 4 years, it's in the last 15 years, it is the best performing asset that has ever existed. So, and for those of you who've never seen the illustrious Bitcoin versus gold chart, it has a 14.5 year time frame and is basically used as a, I mean, in a nice way of saying it, is meant to be something for Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff being the guy who is still, it's very weird, who's still talking negatively about Bitcoin on Twitter all the time. I don't get it. And I'd just assume at this point it's some kind of weird fascination that he has. Where basically the chart shows if you had put $1 into Bitcoin and $1 into gold 14.5 years ago, in gold, you would have $1.94. It still would not have doubled. With Bitcoin, you would have $38,506,100. So you literally can't argue against it. I'll use the word discussions with people before over the years who have told me that like other assets have outperformed Bitcoin or that gold is going to come back. And I'm like, there is no comeback. There literally is nothing that is going to save gold or make gold ever. Think about that, ever. It is never, ever going to rise in price as much as Bitcoin. Bitcoin could collapse and fall to zero. You would also need every other crypto to do the exact same thing. And then about a week and a half later, you would have someone create a brand new coin and it would still outperform gold. It would easily double overnight. Yeah. So that's the Bitcoin apparently has been performing well. I mean, I haven't seen it. I haven't been looking at the charts. This also comes as a massive surprise to me as well. And yeah, let's move on. Also in water is wet news, apparently Goldman Sachs and many other financial institutions are back in the news. I know, just having been on this earth for a while, it is abundantly clear that these institutions have been looking at Bitcoin for a while, that they've been buying up Bitcoin for a while, that they tend to make more noise and stomp their feet as we get further into a bull market, into a bull run, as retail investors are more interested in the cryptocurrency market and everyone's wondering, how much Bitcoin should I buy? Like that kind of thing. But what usually personally bothers me a little bit more is that a lot of these companies and institutions pretend like no one has been paying attention to crypto, especially them, for a while. So now they're popping back up into the news. Who's the other one? The company who like adamantly is refusing to offer any type of Bitcoin ETFs. I forgot what they're called. I think it was Vanguard, maybe. I want to say Vanguard. They were also in the news like daily now as well, talking about how they're not going to offer Bitcoin ETFs. And it's like, cool. Well, you said it once. You don't have to say it 15 other times. No one's using your platform. That's, let's kind of, okay. Goldman Sachs' team has reported that clients are returning to cryptocurrency investments this year. thanks to the renewed appetite following the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs. According to a report by Bloomberg dated on the 24th of March, Max Minton, head of digital assets for Goldman Sachs' Asia Pacific office, stated that the firm's biggest clients have reportedly become more active in the crypto sector or are exploring activity. But we've known this already, and I usually assume that a lot of this news ends up being put out there just so that they can kind of promote themselves on TV. What's the easiest way to promote yourself is to get a talking spot on CNBC or ABC or 123 and sit there and go, yeah, we've seen a lot of clients coming to us talking about the Bitcoin that they want to buy from us. And because that there are now Bitcoin ETFs that we are also offering, they can now buy it through us. Because if other people are looking to get into the space, if they've heard something from their grandkids or whatever the fact might be, they might be looking for a place to actually buy some of the crypto. But usually it's given the appearance that no one has been interested in crypto. No one's touched crypto. Who even remembers how to spell the word crypto? But now that prices are going back up because of some magical fairy, now we can say, okay, now our clients are getting back into the space. And it's like, no, we've seen the whale news. We've seen all the whale activity. For those of you who haven't seen this was a couple videos ago, but also like sprinkled throughout. There are a number of new Bitcoin wallets that have either been around for a year, maybe a couple of months, what have you, who are accumulating massive amounts of Bitcoin every single day. It is believed that some of them are obviously maybe institutions. There's one that's accumulating around 100 Bitcoin per day. There are other wallets who are literally buying like 500 Bitcoin. Like every single day, all the time. So these are, clear indications of where the money is going or where it's coming from. As if I can say this realistically, no normal person is buying 500 Bitcoin per day. Right. Minton added that a significant part of the increased appetite for the cryptocurrency sector stemmed from the approval of 10 new Bitcoin ETF applications in the United States in January, which made crypto assets a more integral part of traditional markets. He said, the recent ETF approval has triggered a resurgence in our clients' interest and activities, end quote. What's really weird as well, there's been a lot of, I'm not sure if you've seen it, there's been, almost an egregious amount of Ethereum ETF news that's been popping back up. And a lot of people have like very negative sentiments as to where this could all go for Ethereum. But a lot of times I think it's the market kind of setting itself up for failure. I think people, hear me out here, I think people like to be afraid even though they won't admit it. I think people want some kind of drama to take place even though they say that they really don't want it to. A lot of the news has revolved around, for those of you who've been missing it, Gary Gensler. Basically, when he approved or was part of the approval process of the Bitcoin ETFs, basically there was an enormous amount of backlash from members of the Congress and of the Senate in the United States. I assume these are people who don't have money in the market, like not even joking, who don't have money in the market, who for whatever reason feel like they need to find something to poke and to say that it's evil and awful and terrible. And you might remember a day after the approvals went through, we had news from Hester Pierce, one of the other members of the SEC, who said that, it was not unanimous, but Gary Gensler was one of the people who allowed the ETFs to go through. And he seemed pretty okay with it. This is going to be a new step in the cryptocurrency space and the regulations with the SEC. And the SEC was looking forward to working with crypto. The very next day, after a number of politicians came out in backlash of the ETFs, Gary Gensler also did the exact same thing. And he was talking on the news saying this isn't recognition from him about crypto or Bitcoin. He still thinks they're terrible and horrible and manipulated and awful. And it was like, okay, Gary, cool, we get it. But as he has kind of relinquished control in a way of Bitcoin through the issuances of the ETF, it sounds weird because you would assume that they would have more control over it through the ETF process and the securitized version of Bitcoin. It's kind of, they've kind of thrown their hat into the pool. That's not a saying, but they kind of have let Bitcoin go in saying that it could ever be a security. And now the SEC is desperate to kind of gain control. So Gary Gensler, the last like 5 or 6 days, has been like foaming at the mouth, literally foaming, talking about how evil crypto is and terrible. And now people think that the potential of an Ethereum ETF being approved is like on the ground now. But the problem is that we were probably always going to be in that boat. Like, just realistically, it took 10 years. You know how long a decade is to get paperwork done to have a Bitcoin ETF? So the idea that people thought that we're going to get one immediately for Ethereum is also kind of nonsensical. The biggest thing that was holding it up, or is holding it up, is BlackRock. I think in BlackRock's entire 30 or 40 year history, only one ETF has been rejected for them. I think out of like 10,000 that they've issued, like something nonsensical like that, only one has ever been rejected. So everyone, is still assuming that BlackRock will at least get theirs, but these coins will be fine. We literally do not need the old system to barge their way in for cryptocurrencies to perform well, to do well. A lot of it has to do with like immediate greed, because people don't like to look down the line. So everyone wants to be like rich yesterday, as opposed to just waiting like another year and a half. I know the waiting, believe me, I know that the waiting can be quite cumbersome, or you just don't want it to like actually take place because it's waiting. But we will do fine without having other people getting into our market and or potentially manipulating it and or buying up all of our coins. So anyway, a lot of the news that's been popping up from larger institutions the last 2 or 3 weeks has been like, and I air quote here, this resurgence of people trying to get back into the cryptocurrency market now. And it's like, no, we know that they've been there. You are just offering these products, and this is why you are in the news to tell everyone about it. And also, I have no Ethereum like tabs here, but like, we will be just fine. Ethereum is still probably going to 8,000 to 10,000 by itself. Of course, it will be pushed a lot further, but the market has done just fine without all of these people. But let me not continue rambling. That's the Goldman Sachs is saying that people are now returning to the cryptocurrency market news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in lightly dystopian, utopian news, I'm not really sure. It says, in an historic move, the Oklahoma, I think they meant to write the state of Oklahoma, has emerged as the 12th U.S. state to pass a landmark bill aimed at safeguarding the fundamental rights of Bitcoin users. The development marks a massive achievement for the crypto community, yada, yada, yada. The Bitcoin Rights Bill received sweeping support with an overwhelming 81-1 vote in the state house. Who would reject? When you hear what the bill was even for, who would reject this? 81-1. One person said no in the state house. According to a post on Twitter, the bill has been spearheaded by Representative Brian Hill and backed by the Oklahoma Bitcoin Association. It promises extensive protection for Bitcoin users within the state. Among its key provisions are the absolute right to buy and sell Bitcoin and the freedom to mine Bitcoin as well. In addition, it will safeguard the right to self-custody digital assets and the liberty to run a full node. These provisions set a powerful precedent for other states to follow. When I say dystopian, it is because, one, this is the 12th state to have to do this out of 50. I, stupidly assumed that it could just have been a blanket thing for all 50 states, but apparently that's not how it works. Two, these states are having to write on a piece of paper that says that if you bought something, it is yours. That's the dystopian part right there, because I had just logically assumed anything that I bought was mine, and that I could do with it as I so pleased, as it was mine. So having to like literally make a bill and then pass it, and having one person, can you imagine one person sitting there and going, no, I don't think people should have the right to buy and sell Bitcoin, to mine Bitcoin, which is literally just running calculations on their computer that they purchased. and also the right to self-custody. Because one would assume, let's say you own or have a US dollar in your possession. You can put it in your wallet, you can put it under your bed, you can hide it. It's yours. You can hide it for 1,000 years if you want because it's yours. So you understand what I'm saying. So it's terrible that people have to make laws like this, and that is simply just not, the law of the land. I bought it, I own it, it's mine. But it's cool to see these things passing so quick. Hopefully other states get it together as well. I wonder why 38 other states, and I heard someone say it, and I heard someone say it's 51. No, it's not. There's, for those of you who don't know, and you should know, and I mean you should know, there are only 50 states. There's not 51, and it's not 52. I remember hearing 52 as a kid and looking at an adult, and I was like, did you not read a history book? There's only 50 states. Whoever said it, put your hand down. Just go Google it. The U.S. has a lot of territory, and that does not include itself in the actual states. For those of you who also don't know, D.C. is also not a state. Yeah, I just blew someone's mind. Anyway, yeah, hopefully the other states get it together and do the exact same thing very soon, simply because you should not have to write this into law, but it's cool that they're slowly, and I say slowly, passing these laws. Yeah, that's the Oklahoma news. And yeah, let's move on. This has been popping up more and more, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. For those of you not looking at the screen, Litecoin is back in the news. Yeah, weird, right? It says Litecoin saw around 90,000 new addresses just within March. On-chain data shows a new surge in users in the Litecoin network ahead of Bitcoin's halving. Really funny to actually even phrase it that way. Sentiment data shows Litecoin holder wallets surged from 7.92 million to 8 million between the 29th of February. Yeah, there was a 29th of February this year. This was a leap year. And the 25th of March, reflecting an astounding 90,000 address increase. We typically only get new Bitcoin wallet address news. We have not heard from Litecoin since I think about 5 days. And even before that, it was about a good 2 years. For those of you who missed the last Litecoin news, there was, I forgot the name of the company, but they do cryptocurrency transfers within their thing, trying to be regulated and yada yada yada. And they said that around 41%, which was the majority, 41% of transactions on their platform actually occur in Litecoin. They had a survey and they found out that customers preferred to use, for whatever reason, preferred to use Litecoin. They were using Litecoin more than Bitcoin, Litecoin more than Ethereum, and Litecoin more than Cardano and any other coin that kept on falling percentage-wise. Litecoin actually had a good 41% of usage on their platform. And also Litecoin has seen a surge in the amount of people who are creating new wallets, which is also is always a good metric to see. Bitcoin usually always leads the pack in that we see 5,000 to 10,000 new wallet addresses per day. It's also Bitcoin. So to see 90,000 new wallets for Litecoin is also quite significant. And I'll give you the whole story because why not? I've known you all for a while. I was just chatting with one of my best friends. Hello, if you're watching. And we were discussing money as we normally do. We sit there, we eat something, we drink something for a second, and we go, okay, so money. And we were talking about coins or just things to kind of put money into. We breezed over real estate. We were talking about these other things, but then I brought up the discussion of the idea of Litecoin, and he seemed a little bit perplexed. And it was mainly because, for those of you who don't know, Litecoin also has halvings, which is something that a lot of people don't usually keep in mind. Litecoins, and I'll say it to you this way, and I mean this in no uncertain terms, This is not financial advice. Don't listen to a word I'm saying. Understand me because I'm speaking English, but don't follow in my steps simply because this is what I'm planning on doing. Keeping in mind, this asset class is tremendously volatile, and all of this literally could go to zero tomorrow. So I was discussing with him my idea of where I'm going to be probably allocating some money. And I was saying, I've been looking at Litecoin and I don't know why. Like you know how you have like one of those feelings and you can't really like place it or like say exactly why you have one of those things. And we were talking about the idea of which coins we thought could do well in the future. I mean, we resoundingly were saying that Bitcoin, of course, is going to do extremely well. But then I was telling him, I was like, Litecoin's previous all-time high, I believe was 380, like $400 somewhere. I'm rounding up to $400. I don't know the exact number. And I was saying, logically, that coin is probably at some point going to get to $1,000. And he was like, yeah, where are you going with this? And I was like, well, if Bitcoin has halvings and Litecoin has halvings and Litecoin's price has also increased accordingly with their own halvings, what's the issuance rate of Litecoin compared to Bitcoin? And I found that out, and I'm also going to show you. And then I was like, it leads me to believe that in the event of a situation where Bitcoin ends up going to $500,000 per coin, we're probably going to have a Litecoin that's around $1,500, $2,000 something or so dollars. The numbers seem lightly believable, especially with all the momentum that we've been getting. And I, for transparency's sake, I was telling him, I was like, I'm probably going to start buying some Litecoin because I have a feeling in the future it's definitely going to pass by those numbers that I was talking about. So he was like, okay, cool. What's Litecoin's price? And it's when we were looking, it was around like 80 something dollars. And I was like, getting 10 of them is 800. Getting 100 is 8,000. I don't know if I'll be able to get to 1,000 Litecoin, but it's really weird that like it's been something that's been popping into my head. I'm not sure if it's maybe just subliminal as far as things that's been going on, or maybe a weird desire to be able to diversify within the space a little bit more. But I was looking at the actual Litecoin halving numbers, and Litecoin's halvings tend to happen a year before Bitcoin's halvings actually. Yeah. It's a year before they take place. And they take place every 4 or 5 years, somewhere around there. Anyway, the most important part is the actual block reward is currently exactly where Bitcoin's is. It's at 6.25 coins, which is going to be 3 point something coins, which then also becomes 1.7 something. Anyway, super random thought. It was something that I was going over in my head, and I was like, I feel really good about it, and I can't really explain why. Especially for those of you who don't know, Litecoin is historically seen as the test net for Bitcoin. So whenever major upgrades and updates are proposed for Bitcoin, as Bitcoin's core is quite valuable, they actually do the testing on Litecoin a lot, and they end up getting implemented on Litecoin. So Litecoin has all the upgrades for Bitcoin before they actually get onto Bitcoin. So Litecoin also benefits from them in this way as well. But yeah, it's just been a coin that hasn't really been in the news and that hasn't really been in the spotlight. But I feel like something is going on with it. Like something is happening while people aren't paying attention to it. So I personally will be buying Litecoin as we continue moving into the future. It's just something about it. And even more so from like a long-term perspective, everything that I'm buying in crypto, everything that I buy in real life is for a long-term hold. So this will be a weird experiment for me to also have to see if in 10 years I was correct in any sort of way. Yeah, very odd, right? So yeah, a bunch of new Litecoin addresses. I assume maybe we'll be hearing about Litecoin more because the last time we heard from Litecoin, except for during March, was when they got Mimblewimble, for Litecoin to have private transactions, which I'm also waiting for that discussion as well, because we now know for certain that we can activate private transactions on Bitcoin. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.